Hi, I'm Commissioner Recovery Lotto. Thank you for joining us on your lunch break. Today, we're talking with one of our amazing community partners about the different programming and opportunities that we have and how we work with them and how we can work with you to do more and provide these services to all the residents of Miami-Dade County.
Thank you so much for that. Let me share my screen. And if you could please confirm that you can see me, hear me, and see my screen, please.
I can see you, hear you, and see your screen.
Okay, excellent. Then we are in business. Okay, so I am downloading the deck for everyone. So I wanted to thank you for making time in your busy schedule to come here with us to kind of advance yourself and your skills with respect to AI. Last week, as I mentioned, was to set the foundation. This week is for us to dive deep. This week is for us to turn a corner. What I want you to leave with today is I want you to leave with just some really practical. I want you to walk away with some practical use cases. I want you to see how you can apply this to you and your business. So I'm going to start with a question. What if I told you that the most reliable and hardest working and the most knowledgeable employee that you'll ever hire doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, doesn't take vacations, and costs you less per month than maybe your morning coffee? So again, I'm Dr. Lee from Miami-Dade College. I'm kind of honored to be here, courtesy of Commissioner Regalado. In our last session, we talked about how you can change your relationship with AI. We talked about how you should treat AI like it is a world-class consultant, not just like a search engine. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to take that to an entirely new level. Tonight, we're not just going to be talking about using AI. Today, we're not going to be talking about using AI. Today, we're going to be talking about hiring AI. We're going to be talking about building virtual employees that work for you and your business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And this isn't science fiction. This is not something coming in 5 years. This is all happening right now. And, any business owner, anybody that works in a business, you're going to need to understand, how this is going to work, for you to have an unfair advantage over everyone else. So I want you to imagine something. I want you to imagine that you walk into your office tomorrow morning and there's a new employee sitting at a desk. And this employee has already read every single email that came in overnight. They've drafted, say, perfect responses to each one. They've updated your calendar. They followed up on 3 leads in your pipeline. They've prepared a summary of everything that you need to know for that day. They have created your content for your marketing campaign. That employee exists. You just haven't hired them yet. And today that I'm going to show you exactly how to do that step by step, just one step at a time. So we talked about changing your relationship with AI. We talked about changing your relationship with AI. Have you ever stopped to think about what makes you irreplaceable in your organization? Whether you own the business, work in the business, you have a role in a business somewhere, what really makes you irreplaceable in your role? I mean, really irreplaceable. Not the task that you do, but the things that only a human being can do. A couple of years ago, that was not a real question. Today, that is a real question. So here's the reality that every single business owner in District 7 needs to understand. AI, it now has cognitive capabilities. This AI can read, write, reason, analyze, communicate, make decisions. It can learn. And that means a massive portion of the work that used to go to human beings can now be done by a virtual employee. According to Forbes, it was almost 70% of organizations are going to integrate autonomous AI agents into their workforce. And they're going to do that not in the distant future. They're going to do that by the end of this year. That's the reality of where we are. They're going to do that by the end of this year. There's going to be more autonomous agents. But this doesn't have to be something that's just left to the big boys. And the question, it's no longer whether AI will change your workforce. The question right now is just whether you're going to lead that change or whether you are going to be left behind. But here is the nuance that most people miss. And that is that this is not about replacing humans. And I want you to keep that context in mind, because that strikes a fear in a lot of people's heart. This is not about replacing humans. At least as you sit here for the next 45 minutes or whatever it is, I want you to think about how this is about understanding which tasks are best done by AI and which tasks are uniquely human, and how these two types of employees can work together. I'd encourage you to think about it this way. There are tasks in your business right now that are repetitive, that are time consuming, that follow a pattern. I'm talking about content creation. I'm talking about email management. I'm talking about scheduling. I'm talking about data entry. I'm talking about following up on leads, social media posting. All of those are things that can be done by the machine now. These are perfect for virtual employees. Then there are tasks that require empathy, creativity, relationship building, moral judgment, leadership. Those are uniquely human. Those cannot and will not be replaced by the machine. So the question is, how do we get these two types of employees to work together? I want you to think about it this way. There are tasks in your business right now that can be done by the robots, cost effectively, that can free you up. The magic is going to happen in the collaboration zone, where the human team is going to focus on what humans do best, and the quote virtual employees will handle everything else. That's where we are. So for small business owners in Coconut Grove, or professionals in Coral Gables, or entrepreneurs in South Miami, this is your competitive advantage. This session today is very important because this is the future of work. This is the future of business. Let me do one thing here. I'm going to make sure everybody has this deck. Okay. So let's start with this. And by the way, I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to show you the pathway for all of this right here. What would you do? And this is a real question. It's a real question for everyone. What would you do if you had an extra 15 hours every single week? And I don't mean 15 hours of busy work. It's a real question. What would you do if you had 15 hours of your life back? What would that mean for your business? What would that mean for your family, for your sanity? So I want to walk you through how this is going to impact you and your business. I want to show you the real value of these, quote, virtual employees. And I want you to think about your own business as I do. First, imagine the lowest common denominator, the smallest use case that I can think of. How many hours do you spend, do you think, in a week just checking email? Just think about that alone. How many hours a week do you spend checking email? And secondly, when you think about how many hours per week you spend checking email, how many of those emails do you even respond to? And how many of those emails can be followed up, need to be forwarded? How many of them are spam or junk, things that are interesting but not really relevant? So as you kind of think about this, last week it was change your relationship with the AI. This week it's something a little bit different. What if you had a virtual employee that can do things like, for instance, monitor your inbox around the clock? So when an email comes in, it reads the entire thread. It understands the context. It knows how you typically respond to that particular person. It drafts a perfect response. It does that response in your voice, using your tone. It knows that if you're dealing with somebody and you've typically been responding to that person, in a formal tone, it'll make sure that it maintains that formal response when you get a response back. That's one example. That is one example. That alone will let you wake up to review the drafts, hit send. We've actually pushed this out, and that alone, it's saving people 2 to 3 hours every single day, about 15 hours a week. And at a professional rate, that's the equivalent of a $50,000 a year employee working for you for pennies. Now, I want you to imagine a virtual employee managing your calendar, scheduling meetings, resolving conflicts, sending reminders, rescheduling when things change. Think about that. You don't have to manage your calendar. You put the rules in place, the virtual employee just goes. That's not science fiction. That's real. That saves another 5 hours, 10 hours a week. Now, those are things that can help you day to day be more efficient. The real value comes over here when you start thinking about how can I use AI? In other words, how can I develop and create these virtual employees that manages my top of funnel items for my business? A virtual employee that manages your marketing and your sales. And I don't mean completely because you're still in control, but automates in an intelligent way your sales pipeline. A virtual employee that's going to follow up with every single lead, making sure that anytime somebody contacts you through any channel, they get a personalized message in response. Make sure that you track responses. Make sure that it alerts you when the deal is hot. Businesses report 20% to 40% increases in lead conversions when the AI, i.e. the virtual employee, just handles that. Okay. The other one too, we talked about this in the last set of sessions, is that it gets really, truly revolutionary as well. What if your virtual employee had a phone number, a real phone number that customers can call or text? Imagine a restaurant in Coconut Grove where a virtual employee answers the phone at 2 a.m., takes a reservation, confirms that reservation, sends a confirmation text, then adds that to the calendar, and does all of that while you're asleep. What if that virtual employee could text you and call you and receive calls from your customers just like a real person? That's not a dream. That's what we're building right now. And for the businesses in District 7, that's the difference between surviving and thriving. That's where we are. And like I said, I'll demo this shortly, but I wanted to set the context first. So with that said, I'm going to start with, how do you build a quote virtual employee? Okay. How do you build a virtual employee? What are some of the things that they can do? I'm talking about things, simple things right now. Like, I'm talking about simple things like managing email, right? Things like that. But this could be anything. Like Jennifer, you're talking about reconciling bank statements in QuickBooks. That's exactly the types of things that I'm gonna show you, right? I'm not gonna show you how to do that in particular, but I'm gonna show you how we would build them. So before we build anything, I want you to do something simple. And this is something that I'm gonna ask all of you. How many do we have out here? Like 100, 135, 136. All 136 people on this call now, I want you to think about your own role in your business, your own role in your job. And I want you to describe what it is that you do on the back of a napkin. Just take one business process, one workflow. Think about what you do, one high value workflow, what you do, and I want you to just scribble that on the back of a napkin, the workflow. Maybe you collect leads. What does that look like? Maybe you do data analytics. What does that workflow look like? Here's my point. Every single thing that you do in your business can always be described as a workflow, a flow of work. You receive an email, you read it, you decide how to respond, you respond. That is a workflow. You need to reconcile bank statements in QuickBooks. What does that workflow look like? Maybe for lead generation, you get a lead, you qualify that lead, you follow up with that lead, you close the deal. That is a workflow. And here's the key insight. In order to do any workflow, you need to have skills. That's why you are in business, because people are paying for your knowledge. If they're paying for your product, your knowledge to create the product. If you're working for an organization, then the value that you provide are your skills. In order to do anything, you need skills, any workflow, anything of value in the workflow. You need to know how to write. You need to know how to send emails. You need to know how to update a calendar. You need to know how to search the internet. So when it comes to building a virtual employee, the first step is not to run out there and build the employee. The first step is to say, what is it that I want this employee to do, and what skills are required in order for them to do that? You might need them to search the internet. Who knows? You might need them to be able to open Excel spreadsheets or interface with QuickBooks. I don't know what those skills are, but that's what you need to define. So you can go to Google. Here, I'll give you a link here. My internet's a little bit slow. I'm hoping that it behaves. I'll just give you an example. I'm not asking anybody to know or understand what any of this is here. But for instance, if I go to Google, Google has a lot of skills that I'm probably interested in. For instance, if I want my AI to send emails, I would go out here and implement an email sending skill. If I wanted my AI to be able to write documents and use Google Drive, I would give it my Google Drive skill. If I wanted it to work with spreadsheets, I'd give it my Google Sheet skill. If I wanted to manage my calendar, I'd give it a calendar skill or a document skill or manage tasks. So there's a lot of skills over here just in Google, but there's a whole lot more that we can do. There's a lot more that we can do. So that's going to be step one. Okay. That's going to be step one. Is to build these skills. Okay. So if you look at all the skills that you can get even from Google, right? There's a ton. Okay. And you don't need to know how to do all of that, by the way. I'm just trying to show you what the capabilities are. If you're a realtor, for instance, maybe a skill that you would need to provide would be to search the county courthouse records, or it might be to, look for building permits, or it might be to look to see, who's going to be, what high net worth individual is moving into Miami-Dade County. I don't know. But these are all skills that we could define. Okay. So you're not building a robot at this point. You're simply assembling a toolkit. And that toolkit is going to become your virtual employee's brain. So those of you that are paying attention, like I said, this is probably the most important session that we can offer. If you're paying attention, what I'm telling you is this is how we're going to bridge the gap between the AI that we talk about, all the fluff and all the hype that everybody talks about, and building an AI that's specific to you and your business, where there is measurable ROI. I'm a dog person. I have a Belgian Malinois. Her name is Daisy. Her full name is Daisy the Wonder Dog Lee. And Daisy is a working dog. Okay, those Belgians are just they're a lot of work. Daisy needs a goal. She is a working dog. You give Daisy a goal, and she will do anything to achieve it. And all that she wants me to do is simply throw the ball, and she'll go run after the ball. She'll do that all day. I give her a goal. She'll do anything to achieve the goal just so that she can have the reward of playing fetch. The AI is exactly the same way. Your virtual employee is exactly the same. After you define the skills, you're going to give your employee a goal. Maybe that goal is manage my calendar and never let a meeting conflict happen. Maybe that goal is create the content for my campaign. Maybe that goal is follow up with every lead in my pipeline within 24 hours. Maybe that goal is write a chapter of my book every week. You give it a goal, and then you give it the skills to meet that goal. And your virtual employee just goes to work. Just like Daisy, just goes to work. Now, here's an important thing. Here's an important thing to call out as we look at the future of work. And here's the part that changes everything. And I do mean everything. Because the number one reason that people do not adopt new technology is friction. The reason why most people are even here right now is because they're trying to learn something new, trying to overcome the friction, the resistance. You have to learn new software. You have to open the laptop. You have to log into a website. You have to navigate, some complicated user interface. Now, what if I told you that we could build a virtual employee and you don't have to learn any new software? That would be a game changer. An absolute game changer. Zero friction. When you build your virtual employee, the next step is to give it what we call a channel. We give it a channel. In other words, we give it a way to communicate. And we give it a way to communicate that is not a software application where you're sitting down typing into a keyboard. We don't do that. We're not building a software application. We're building a literal virtual employee for you to assist you. Last week was change your relationship, your mindset with AI. This week is let's build a robot specifically for you. We give this robot a way to communicate with you. We make this robot come alive in WhatsApp or Telegram or iMessage or Signal. It's a text message. This is a phone call. That's what this is. You give your virtual employee a phone number, and now you can talk to it the way that you and I would talk to each other. You pick up the phone and you say, hey, did anybody email me about the Coral Gables project? And the virtual employee is going to respond, yep, 3 emails came in. I drafted responses based on the context. Do you want me to send them? There's no software to learn. There's no laptop to open. There's no website to navigate. You just talk to your virtual employee through your phone, the same phone that you already have in your pocket. I want you to think about how revolutionary that is for the business owners that are on this call right now. I want you to think about this. You're dropping your kids off at Pinecrest. And while you are in the car, you text your virtual employee, what does my day look like? And it's going to respond with your full schedule and highlight 3 priority items and remind you that a client proposal is due at 3 p.m. And then you say, push my 2 o'clock meeting to tomorrow and draft that proposal based on last month's template. Done. No laptop, no login, no friction. Your virtual employee lives in your pocket, works around the clock, and communicates the way humans communicate in any language that you're comfortable with, just through conversation. There is no software to learn. This is the future of work. And each one of these virtual employees is specific and custom to you and to your business exclusively. To you and your business exclusively. That is where we are. We talked about this a little bit before, but now we're going to bring this plane into a landing, for a landing. Now I want to blow your mind, because everything that I've described so far is saying, hey, imagine if you can create one virtual employee that you can talk to get time back, to generate revenue for your business, to do the things that you don't want to do. But what happens when we can create virtual employees and they can talk to each other on your behalf with your company's data? I want you to think about this, because this is what we're building right now today. Imagine that you have a marketing virtual employee. Imagine you have a financial analyst virtual employee, a legal advisor virtual employee, a sales strategist virtual employee, an operations manager. And each one of them is an expert in their respective domain. Each one of them has been given specific skills and a specific goal. Now I want you to imagine that you can that they can communicate with each other. They can share information. They can collaborate. Just like a real team sitting around the conference table. You walk in and you say, team, I'm thinking about opening a second location in South Miami. Give me a full analysis. Your marketing employees, they start researching the local market. Your financial analyst runs the numbers. Your legal advisor checks zoning, checks permits. Your sales strategist projects revenue. Your operations manager creates a staffing plan. And they do all of this while you're having dinner with your family. Doesn't mean that you're going to take everything that they say at face value, but you're going to wake up with a comprehensive report that was generated by a council of experts, world-class experts that would have cost you tens of thousands of dollars from a consulting firm. Because last week you change your relationship with AI. This week you start to think in terms of virtual employees trained with your data, optimized around a central goal to advance your business. Things start to look a little bit different. That is your superpower. I am trying to give you a cape. You've not just hired one virtual employee. What you have done is you have built a council of experts that works around the clock for you. So for all of you small business owners in Commissioner Regalato's district, restaurant owners in Coconut Grove, law firms in Coral Gables, medical practices in South Miami, retail shops in Pinecrest, every single one of you, this applies to you. This is not a luxury. This is now the new standard. The businesses that build these teams first will have an insurmountable advantage. I can tell you, I have one of my good friends and business partners, I believe is on here, Alex Schwartz. And Alex does mastermind classes. And in these mastermind classes, in these mastermind sessions, I don't want to call them classes, but sessions, the most popular one is AI for decision makers. AI for decision makers, where what he does is he shows leaders in Miami, private equity firms and leaders in Miami, shows them how they can leverage AI to make better decisions. Super powerful and super popular. But this is the essence of what he provides. How you can build a council of experts unique to you in your business, in your domain, and how you can get them to work together to solve problems that before you didn't have the money, the resources, or the know-how to build. We can now build that now. This is the advantage. So let me bring all this together so I can make sure I have time for what I really want to show. I know that we've covered a lot of ground here, and I want you to leave today. I don't want you to leave inspired. I want you to leave with I want you to leave inspired too, but I want you to leave with a very clear and actionable plan. I want you to have a blueprint. And that's what I'm trying to provide over here. Step number one is I want you to define your workflow. Take any business process and describe it on the back of a napkin. Then I want you to think about what skills are required to do that. What skills would any employee, virtual employee or physical employee, what skills would they need to do that? Would they need access to your calendar, to the web, data retrieval, a database, the MLS, the county records? What would they need for that? We're going to need to create the skills. Then we're going to need to build your employees. We're going to need to build your employees. Give those skills and the clear goal to those employees. Then we're going to give it a channel. How do you want to talk to your employee? You want to talk to them through WhatsApp, through Telegram, through iMessage, a phone number? How do you want to talk to these virtual employees? This could be as complicated or as simple as you want. Give them a channel. We can give them a phone number so that you can call and text message them, and you can just talk to them naturally. Remember, there's zero friction. You don't have to learn any software. What you have to do is you just have to be able to express what you need. What is the goal? What do you want this employee to do? Give it a channel. After you do that, you're going to want to probably build a team. You're going to want to create multiple virtual employees with different specialties and let them collaborate. Now, I've tried to give you a couple of use cases, a couple of examples. I focused a lot on building sales virtual employees and marketing virtual employees that manages the majority of my marketing and sales pipeline. I also wanted some productivity virtual employees so it can manage my schedule, manage my calendar, manage things that's just going to give me my life back. For you, that will probably mean something different. What virtual employees could you create that could make your life easier, that could increase your revenue? And again, that's part of what Alex does at Human Glue. I want you to picture two versions of yourself. In one version, you're drowning. You're buried in emails. You miss follow-ups. You forget appointments. You work 14-hour days. You do all of that and you still fall behind. In another version, you walk into your office, you're calm, you're focused. Your emails are being handled. Your calendar is organized. Your leads are being followed up on. Your customers are being served. Your data is being analyzed. And you, the human, you're doing what humans do best. You're building relationships. You're making creative decisions. You're leading your team, both your employees and your virtual employees. You're growing your business. That's the difference between working in your business and working on your business. And virtual employees is going to be how you make that shift. So I'm going to show you, my internet is a little goofy over here, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'll at least show you, some of this right here. Everything I've told you today, it is not theory. It is real. It is live. Let me give you an example of what I am talking about here. While I pull this together, please let me know if you can give me maybe a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If if you're able to follow, get any value out of this so far. This does require a different way of thinking. Jill, I'm going to show you that right now. Let me show you that right now. Okay.
Sorry for interrupting. I can see the website, osp.net. When I when I access the page, it says unauthorized.
I locked it. Yep, I locked it. Yeah, I locked it. So I want to demo this here. I'll make sure that I get make sure everybody gets access to it. But I locked it for right now, just I want to do a quick demo.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So these are the things that we've been talking about. So for one, I'm going to go over here, and you had heard me talk about skills before, and I just wanted to show you that we can go over here and we can create skills. We can connect this thing to anything that you can connect to. That's what, when we say agentic AI, people often talk about agentic AI, but a lot of times people don't really know what that looks like. Agentic AI means we give the AI agency. I'm just going to walk through this really quickly. And this is where we would go to provide skills, right? You need to talk to a database, we'd add a connect to this database skill. You need to send emails, we'll create an email skill. Whatever it is for your business, we would start by creating the skills over here first. That'll be the first thing that we do. After we create skills, the second thing that we do is we go in and we build agents. So we build the agents by saying, hey, I need a virtual employee that will actually go out and write content for me, build websites for me, that will you can kind of fill in the blanks with, what you need it to, with what you need it to do. So that is kind of, part two to this, what you will, what you would build. And then after that, you would then go over here to channels, and in channels, you would define how you want to talk to this. You want to connect this thing to your WhatsApp. You want to connect it to your Telegram, Google Chat, Discord, Slack, Signal, iMessage, whatever. And there's tons more that we could add to this. Tons more that we can add to this. But that is the essence of what this would look like. The only other thing I would mention is that there's this company called Manus, and Manus is extremely good. Manus, they have it's kind of expensive, but it's they have the same, essentially it's the same concept. So if you go to manus.im, they will allow you to do the same things, right? So something very similar. So for instance, if I just told this thing, hey, my name is Dr. Ernesto Lee. I am doing a workshop for District 7, Commissioner Regalado in Miami. What I need for you to make me a one-page infographic that I can share with the participants. This is about how to build virtual employees to 10x your business for the businesses in Commissioner Regalado's district. By the way, I like to talk to the AI because it captures a lot more nuance when you can talk to the AI. We'll let it do its thing over here. And while this is doing that, Alejandro, do you mind if we start going through the questions now? Because these demos are going to take a few minutes for them to pop up.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
There's a couple there already.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the channel, I think I've answered the question about the channel. I'll go back.
My apologies. You have to read the question out loud because the participants don't have access to the questions.
So one of the questions was, how do I actually give AI a channel, a phone number through WhatsApp? And that's I'm not expecting anybody to understand any of this right now, but there's a channel section where you would go there and you would simply talk to it. Like I'm just showing you on the back end, but in reality, you would simply go over here and just talk to it. Hey, I want you to connect to my Telegram account or my WhatsApp account. You tell me what to do. And then it'll go in and build it out for you, tell you what to do on Telegram or WhatsApp. And then from there, you would be able to just talk to it directly like you and I would talk. Okay. All right. Let me see here. So Monique, here, actually, I'm pulling this in here so I can give you an example. For a lot of these, yes. Are these paid? A lot of these are paid. But let me give you an example of some that are not. I had mentioned this before. Let me see if this is still working, by the way. And Manus is paid. It's one of the best in the world. AIstudio.google.com is one of my favorites. It's one of the best in the world. It has some of the best models. And for instance, let me go to Playground here. This is free here. If I wanted to maybe, do images, this is a good one for, for images. Hey, I'm going to be, putting out some ads in Coconut Grove. I need for you to give me a background that I can use for some marketing collateral. So yeah, these are all agents. The difference, Monique, is that these are all agents that are already built in. That's the difference. These are agents that are already built in. What we want to do is we want to build our own custom agents, is what we want to do. So you can see that these agents here, they're not, I mean, it's not terrible. For a couple seconds, that's not bad. That's not bad. Let me go back. I finally have this ready for you now. I had taken this down for a second, but if you go to skills now, I just want to show you that these are some examples of some of the skills that I put together for this. An activity feed, a book writer skill that'll write books on your behalf, a skill that'll go out to the clerk of courts and just pull out list pendants and probates, etc. A skill that'll go out and find agents, a skill that'll talk, a skill that'll find foreclosures, a skill that'll do billing, manage your contacts, etc. And then once you have these skills in place, then you would go in and you would build these virtual employees, right? So for instance, I call mine Mia for obvious reasons. Maybe, a virtual employee that just manages my calendar. Maybe a virtual employee that just finds deals for me in the area. A virtual employee that manages my schedule, stuff like that. So that's an example, and these are just some examples. And for instance, the book writer skill, if you kind of go a step deeper into here, you'll see that these things have a soul. They have tools that they use. They have not just a soul, but they have an identity. A user. Who are they? Who's their person, right? A heartbeat. The tools that they would use, the channels that they would interact over. So this one is interacting over Telegram, etc. So when I pull up my Telegram, I just sit there and talk to this and say, hey, I want you to write me a book on this topic, and then poof, there you go. Okay. So what websites allow custom agents? Manus is working on allowing you to build custom agents. But other than that, there's custom folks that are out there. What I'll do is I'll get a list and I'll have it ready for the next class. Here's an example of the agent. So here you go, right? So here's what this agent built for us. Okay. This is what our agent built for us right here, just based off of the context that we gave it. Okay. Which I don't know about you, but I don't think that is terrible. Okay, so Cecilia, and Raquel. So the questions are the content is great. How do we actualize this? And good value, but I need the AI tool that I can hire. So so for both of you, that is what I'll do is I'll get the list, and maybe something where we can kind of exchange some information, and we can kind of dive a little deeper. But show up next week, and I'll have all of that. I'll have all of that for you. Let me see here. Alejandro or Pedro, do you guys have anything?
So far, so good. The difference, can anybody open an OSP.NET account?
So that is, let me take a step back. So that is my platform, and I closed it down because the response has been just frankly overwhelming. So I'll have it open. Alex and I will have it open next week so that people can explore, and we can kind of start building some building some things out. But we started doing this for a lot of local businesses around there, and it's been just overwhelming when people realize for the very first time, when they realize that AI is working for them. I mean, you can't imagine the very first time that we sit down and we show somebody that, hey, you never have to check your email again, ever. Don't even bother dealing with your email. Just sit there and talk to it. And every 15 minutes, it'll send you a summary that says, these are the critical emails. I've taken the liberty of responding, creating a draft for it. Do you want to send it? Yes, no, or edit. These are the ones that are not important. These are the ones that I'm going to add to your calendar. These are the ones I'm going to forward to somebody else. Full context. We just showed most people, we just demoed the email and the calendar, and it's been overwhelming. Just absolutely just overwhelming, because people have realized that if nothing, forget about all the other virtual employees, people are empowered because they're getting hours of their life back just for that right there. And then it always triggers the next thing. Hey, I'm a realtor. Can I create a virtual employee that does research for me? Easy. Tell me what you do. Bang, bang, bang. We get the skills. We put that together, go out there, and now they have their research agent. People that wake up, hey, every day I do this. I have to wait for other people because they can't do it as well as I can. Okay, let's create a virtual employee that does that. So that's kind of what that has looked like. That's why I closed the door on that for right now, because it's the future of work. That's why I wanted to present here, so we can kind of open this up for everyone. But my promise to you is I'll have something between Alex and I. We'll have something for everybody to see next week.
Okay. I think we had to see any more questions.
And Raquel, I will do that. You'll have that a list of folks that can build. Yeah, that's easy. I just need to pull all that together. So I'm going to ask what I always ask. I'm not sure if you guys can, Alejandro, can they do responses? I just want to make sure that you guys are still getting value, still learning something. What we're talking about is the cusp of where we are. We're sitting on the leading edge, and I just want to make sure everybody's still getting value from this.
People can respond. I mean, they can respond to your question in the Q&A by just answering
okay.
it.
Okay. Okay, you know what, Sadie, that's a great idea. Put a business in here, and we can grow it. That's a great idea. I'll do that. I'll do that starting next week. I'll put a business in there, and then you can see it grow with your own eyes.
You're getting some feedback right now. Looking good. Very helpful, insightful.
Monique?
Enjoying the class. You can see it there.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay. The fact that you came back is it tells me a lot. So next week, we're going to make sure that there's even more value.